What if I told you that I just bought a car that does 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, costs a couple of quid a year to tax, it's got nearly 500 horsepower, but better than all of that, it comes with free fuel for life, forever. And even better than that, as if it can't get any better than that, it cost me £5,000. This is the car. Yes, I know, it's a Tesla. It's a Tesla Model S P90D. And remember what I've just said? I bought this car for 5,000 quid. In fact, actually, a smidge under 5,000 quid. Now, yes, it's got very high mileage, but yes, Elon is picking up my fuel tab forever, indefinitely. And I really revel at that right now. So watch this episode to see how I bought this car, what is wrong with it and how I can rectify it as cheaply as possible, and why maybe you should go out and buy a car with supercar performance, family practicality and free fuel thanks to Elon. I'm Jonny Smith, this is The Late Break Show. Okay, before we show you the work carried out on this bargain P90D, I think I need to explain that I wasn't actually looking to buy a Tesla, but a friend of mine called Jonathan Porterfield, who specialises in sourcing used EVs and who bangs the drum for championing why pre-owned and high mileage EVs are not to be scared of, saw this at a trade auction in Shoreham. He knew I'd be interested, so he slipped it under my nose. Here's the particulars. 266,000 mile 2016 car. It runs, it drives, it charges fine, but the MOT just run out and there's a big fuse related warning on the dash which appeared to be scaring many traders away. That's when Jonathan called me, because we both know the problem wasn't as serious as it first seemed, and with a chance of getting a car for £5,000, I was chomping on the bit. I should mention that Jonathan has his own YouTube channel, and if you like being kept in the loop with no-nonsense EV buying advice and pricing, he's your man. I'll let Jonathan take over here as he takes you through the status of what I'm sure is the UK's cheapest Tesla, and one that isn't a crash damage car.
So here we go, Tesla Model S, 90 kilowatt hour dual motor. I've delved into it. It's on a 65 plate, so like I said at the beginning, it's just £20 a year road tax, not 190. There's the miles, look, 266,302 miles. Got a little symbol warning triangle here that says battery fuse replacement required. Okay to drive. Schedule service immediately. That's a common fault on the early Model S. Basically the fuse, it's on top of the battery, and the air conditioning waste pipe, so the distilled water that comes out of the aircon unit, drips onto the top of the battery and it doesn't drain away, and it finds the lowest point, which eventually, through the seal of a cover that's on top of the battery that holds the main fuse, the Pyro fuse, the main contactor for the battery pack. Let's dive into the sale and see what it fetches, or whether it sells at all.
And the next one in, ladies and gentlemen, could quite possibly be the cheapest Tesla I have seen.
Oh, you'll sell this, no problem.
We get around 2315, 60 miles, 16 plate Tesla Model S. This one, dual motor, 5,500 quid. 5,500 bid. 55, 55. Yes, I did say £5,500. 55, 55, 55. At 50, mama the 50, mama the 50, mama the 50, mama the 55. Clean and green on the report, chaps. At 5,500, mama the bid. Is anyone in the motor trade tonight?
So amazingly, at first the car didn't sell. Our daft £3,500 didn't wash. I hadn't told Jonathan yet to pull the trigger at 4,850. Oh, and by the way, at this point, neither of us knew this was a P90D because it was advertised as a 90D. Here's what happened next, with Jonathan bidding on my behalf.
It's now Wednesday lunchtime. It's going through another sale. So let's see if my increased bid will buy me that Moon Mile Tesla Model S.
45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45. The neighbours would never know. 47, 47, 47, 47. 8's online. 48 twice at 48. I'll pop you on. 48.50. 48.50.
We got it. With the auction fees, you can see that the invoice comes to £5,500. And that's not just the cheapest Tesla in the UK. It's one without any crash damage and one that's the performance model with insane mode. So 3 seconds to 60, over 700 pounds-feet of torque, and a range well north of 200 miles in the real world. Oh, and of course that free charging forever off of Elon. So this is the first time I've actually seen the car. This is Matt. Matt is Matt Cleveley from Cleveley Motors. And I've known you a little while, haven't I now?
Yes, we have. We've worked before together. Yep.
But Matt does not just EVs, but you sort of become the go-to people for kind of out of warranty or even quite new electric cars which may or may not have problems.
We were the first independent nationally to put our head on the chopping block and say to EV owners, as EV owners as well, we want to help maintain and look after your vehicle. Yeah. And fast forward 7 years, here we are in our third workshop unit, especially done for you and your car. So yeah, we've MOT'd this for you and failed it. Yeah. And been round it, just had a brief look over it for, very surprising for its mileage.
The things we knew about from the auction, we knew it had a bit of an issue with the bonnet. In fact, it doesn't really fit right on this side. Don't know whether that's as standard from Tesla in 2016 or not. This is obviously a pre-facelift car, which is why it's got the sort of muzzle. Someone's murdered this car out, haven't they?
They have. It's been de-chromed, so all of these insets in the grille, on the mirrors, the handles, all that would have been chrome from factory. Yeah. So it has been murdered out, as you said. Yeah.
I don't hate it at all.
No, it's better than some of the others that I've seen. Yeah, definitely.
It's got the 21s on it, which are all bald as a coot.
Tyres are all very illegal, and that makes up half of the failure work.
Does it?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
They look all right, but I'm not going to be keeping them because A, I don't want to buy 21-inch tyres. B, someone's really gone to town on the curbing.
It's an AP1 car, so Autopilot 1, and you can tell that because it's got no camera in the side repeater. So some people say that is the best version because it can't nag as much, because it doesn't see as much.
Is that right?
So yes.
Paint's actually, I mean, I know it's been pooed on by birds. We will clean it at some point. But it's actually straighter than I thought. I was expecting a lot more panel damage. The bonnet said it was damaged, but I thought it'd be crinkled.
There's a slight crease here. When we've had the front open, it's obvious that it's over-travelled.
Right.
Probably the best way of putting it.
Yeah.
Not sure why, but yeah.
Little scuff on the front bumper. Doors look really good, but there's a couple of other things that were mentioned that were, I'm just trying to remember what they were. Oh!
There's some marks on the rear bumper, isn't there? And
yes. So we've got a gouge here. Again, it's pretty minor considering what I've paid for it.
And this is the lacquer peeling off of the OE carbon fibre spoiler. But a vehicle of this age, it doesn't have a goldfish tank as a rear lamp, which is really important. Yeah. So it's probably not got water in the back, in the boot,
which is a good thing.
So yeah, they can suffer with moisture ingress into the boot via these rear lights not sealing off properly.
I've read this.
Yeah,
I've read this.
But if it's all dry under there, then we're all good.
I forgot how massive the boots are on these.
They have a huge amount of space. Yeah.
It is bone dry.
Okay.
And
the CCS adapter.
CCS. So this car predates when Tesla fully adapted.
Combined charging system, CCS, so it predates that. So Tesla made an adapter so that you could DC charge this vehicle on a CCS, which is what they've developed their version 4 or version 3 and 4 chargers to have is only CCS, because the Model 3 and Y have CCS. So
that means I can charge, remember, a little bit faster and for free still, because this car still has this free supercharging for life on it, which is, it's mental when you think about it, but to get people to adopt EVs early doors, and this being an earlier Tesla, Elon basically went, buy the car, get your fuel for free. And it still applies, which is one of the reasons why I've bought it, because it's just such an incentive. On this side, we have two issues which were brought up. One is, you might see that this door is ajar. It's because it occasionally seems to just pop itself open.
Yeah, so the Model S has presenting door handles, and what that one is doing is it's presenting all the way out to the micro switch So rather than the stop position, it's bypassing that and reaching the open position as if someone's pulled it.
Right. Is that a common issue you see?
Yeah, it's common. So either the stop micro switch is faulty and needs replacing, or it's an adjustment on the position of the touching of each micro switch.
Right. And then there is, something's happened on this rear quarter panel. The paint doesn't look bad from 6 feet
No, from
away.
a distance with this much bird poo on it, it's fine.
But when you crouch and look in the outdoors, you can see there's some hashing marks where it's sort of been keyed up or hastily repaired. Not appalling.
Well,
but
it's quite difficult because the body is alley.
Yeah.
So it needs good preparation and real top class body shop really to be repairing alley.
Yeah.
And fillering it, which is what those marks are from filler.
But again, I can't believe we're being picky. I can't believe this car of this spec in period over 100 grand, I think, with these options. And we'll have a look inside because the insides, again, I was expecting it to be far more ropey.
Definitely for the mileage.
For the mileage.
For the mileage.
It's moon mileage, remember, 266,000.
So you'd expect these to be, if not discoloured more, then starting to go through the pleather.
Yeah.
The bolsters on the seat are good.
Yeah.
It's got premium seats in it.
I know, so that must mean, they look leather and feel leather to me.
They're very comfortable.
So it's surprising. There's a carbon kit. Someone's ordered it with the carbon on the centre console and the drinks holders. It's really quite good.
It's a lot of car for the money.
It's an unbelievable amount of car for the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't dislike the murdered out bit. I thought I would. I'm just driving it around the trading estate, not on the road, because the car has failed its MOT, which Matt did at Cleveland the day before we turned up today. We have the failure sheet, and we know what the car needs as a bare minimum. And actually, it's less than I was expecting. The suspension clonks indicate ball joint wear, suspension link wear, which is common on Tesla Model S's. I can't believe I've become Tesla guy. I honestly never thought this would happen. But obviously, the reason why I'm doing this video is because this car came to me by accident. I didn't actively search for a Tesla. And when you're faced with the proposition of a car like this, for this kind of money, actually in better condition than I was expecting, I'm going to say that, I thought, yeah, okay, I'm going to do this. But also, for me, as a journalist, I'm intrigued and I like to report on what these things are like in the real world. So I've actually put my money where my mouth is and thought, I'll buy this car, follow the story, share it with other people, and assure people that buying used EVs is actually a really good idea. And there are companies out there, Cleveland being the main one, who don't shy away from working on electric cars and are a real font of knowledge on how to mend them economically. I know this is a really embarrassing thing to say because I encourage people to do lots of research on cars before buying them and things. But this came around as a bit of a whirlwind, quick purchase. I genuinely didn't know I was buying the performance model. I thought this was a 90D, not a P90D. So I've actually bought a better car in performance terms than I thought I was buying. Which means I'm buying a car with over 700 pounds-feet of torque, nearly 500 horsepower, that does 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, and is a really decent family car / barn find car. To anyone that's going to batter the keyboard and say, you're driving a milk float, mate, you wouldn't catch me driving this even if you paid for all the fuel forever. Think about it like this. This car will be used as a bit of a white good, as a motorway hack. And the money I save from this is 20 quid a year to tax. The money I spend running a car like this free supercharging Model S, I spend more money on my other cars, on my Piston Classics, my Dodge Charger, on my Allegro Type R, those sorts of cars. So think of it like that. That's my yin and yang. So what we're going to do today, the whole point of coming to Cleveland today, aside from me checking that the car exists and it's not total crap, is we're going to be doing all the work on the MOT, for the MOT, getting an MOT, and I'm going to be driving it away by the end of today. And there's other bits that I will probably find that I want to do, but I can do those as I use the car.
So to work on it in the workshop, because they've got cameras on as well, what we like to do is put it in Tesla's own service mode that is built into the MCU here. So first of all, well, you've got it handily on the menu screen. So go to software, and on the make and model of the vehicle, we press and hold. Yeah. Just for a few seconds, you see it blink slightly, and type in.
So to see what needed doing, we put the car in service mode and we read through the codes. Yeah, so the warning that's just down here at the bottom is what was up on the car when it was sold at auction, and probably what scared a lot of potential customers. So it says battery fuse replacement required, okay to drive, schedule service immediately, acceleration and top speed reduced, performance may be restored on next drive, schedule service also to replace low voltage battery. So none of the high voltage battery is seemingly okay, but the fuse to that battery is the main issue.
Yeah, so there is a Pyro fuse built into the high voltage battery. Yeah. Now, if the car was involved in an accident, that kills that fuse and makes it blow, so no high voltage can escape from the battery pack. Okay. But that high voltage fuse has an internal battery, like a watch battery, for just to keep its purpose and so that it can communicate with the car. Yes, yeah. And those batteries are running low. So this is a warning that we see fairly regularly and a job that we have to attend to.
What you will have seen earlier in the video of the sort of the auction appraisal sheet, which I got from Jonathan, who was bidding on the car. One of the issues that this car had was the bonnet has some damage on it. It doesn't quite fit properly, and we weren't sure why.
I think at some point the latch has seized or failed, and the bonnet has actually
flown up
whilst it's been driving. Not at high speed, because otherwise it would be in a mess. And there's no real evidence of creasing on the external skin. No, it's only on the internal skin we can actually see that. So really stress these the rods. And this is the problem with not servicing electric vehicles, which many owners think is not necessary. Yeah. But the corrosion on this catch, it's going to seize up at some point. Of course it is. Part of EV servicing is cleaning all that up and making sure it's free and lubricating it so that it can't happen again.
You forget, this is still a really good car. Like, in terms of storage, it's still amazing.
Absolutely.
That frunk on its own is a decent space. That's a good pond liner, that. You could keep some koi in that.
You could. There we go. Yeah. So, as with any vehicle, it's just a case of disconnect the earth first. Yep. That's it. Car's neutralised. We'll of course check that we've got high voltage once we access the fuse in the high voltage battery, just for safety's sake. Yeah. But to all intents and purposes, that now should be high voltage dead in the vehicle and complete safe to work on the high voltage system.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
Pollen filter. Yeah. So filtering the air into the cabin. That's pretty dirty.
Should that be white? That should be white.
That should be, carbon. So like this essentially. Right. Okay. So not white, but it shouldn't be having wildlife in it. So we'll probably put one of those in whilst we're here, just because it's just there. Yeah. Okay. We know we need to change the suspension arm. Yeah. So having the frunk removed as well gives us access to the nut that holds this arm in. Yeah. Brilliant. This bolt's a pain.
I was going to say, is it nearly always seized?
No. It's a pain because it's facing the air strut. Right. And there's not a lot of room up there to get your hands in. So how big are your hands?
They're actually quite small.
Okay, we might be all right with that then. Yeah. So when we get you on this job later, but
stop it. Stop smoking.
But so it's a bit of a wiggle, to get that bolt in, but we can get that done.
Dead squirrel.
Here we are underneath it for your first time.
Yeah.
And look at the tyres. This is why it shouldn't be driven on the road. So the canvas of the tyre hanging out. Yeah. This was probably, I don't know, 50, 100 miles away from a puncture, if that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definite MOT failure on the tyres, but I know you've got that sorted and covered.
Yeah.
So one of the MOT advisories was on this bearing. I shared a video with you so we can show that play.
Yeah.
But that's quite common. Now Tesla is selling that as part of the complete arm, but we can just change that bush if needs be.
Yeah.
But for failure items, it's a top suspension arm on the rear, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you see the one with the ride height adjustment on it. So we're changing one of those.
Yeah.
And then we're changing a top arm on the front as well. But for suspension wise, for its mileage, it's done really well on the MOT. Now there's advisories, but that's quite often the case with Tesla that come through MOTs. We were saying about the battery fuse.
Yes, so this is the biggest problem this car has in terms of...
Yeah, and 6 bolts, and we'll be at it.
Oh, so we don't even need to take the whole under tray off?
No.
Okay.
And then we've got the original sticker here on the side, giving us the size of the battery.
Oh, yeah.
Voltage, so we know it's a 90 kilowatt hour, 40 volt battery. So there are advisories on this suspension arm. So this is your front camber arm, or Tesla call it a fore aft link.
Yeah.
So you can end up with play in the ball joint. I think what yours does is a little bit of play in this bush that is the lower shocker mounting.
Yeah.
And then the inner mounting here is the bush corrodes or splits and perishes.
Yeah.
So 3 points of potential failure on this arm.
Yeah, these are the ones that take most of the stress.
And we change a lot of these arms, a lot. So this is the failed suspension, or the MOT failure, the suspension arm here, the top arm. It's also the noise.
That's the really vocal one.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So that's just being transmitted right through the car.
Yeah.
It's got the adjustment for the air suspension on as well. So I need to remember to put that back in. And we said about the awkwardness of the top bolt.
Yeah.
So it's hidden up behind this air strut.
Oh my God.
So access, you do need little hands to get in there and do it, or plenty of experience. The other thing we need to do in this corner is remove this arch liner out. So that'll give us good access to the back of the headlight that's failed on beam image pattern. So once we get this off, I'm expecting to see the bulb just sat in the bulb holder incorrectly. Nothing more technical than that.
Right. So full disclosure, I don't like these wheels, they don't look pretty, okay? But these were 350 quid, second hand, they're 19s. 19s will ride better on a Model S. I'm going to be using it on lots of long journeys for the late break show. It came with very, very good treaded tyres. Yes, they are winter tyres. I know it's not winter. These are just a temporary fix. These are going to get me by. I'm then going to probably change, spoiler alert, probably change the wheels because I want a different wheel style on the car. So these will get me by, and in the meantime, I'll probably flog these with their illegal tyres because 21s are quite desirable amongst the Tesla community. I'll let someone else enjoy these, and the money goes back into the pot to help pay for the work. So I've got the MOT failure sheet. The car was actually put through an MOT yesterday before we turned up. Matt told me what we needed, and that's what we're focusing on today to get right. Put it through an MOT this afternoon, and then I drive away in it. So the car's actually failed on not as many things as we thought. All the tyres are illegal, which we knew that, down to the cord. Headlight aim is incorrect on the near side, which we now know is that wobbly bulb. Suspension arm, ball joint excessively worn, near side front, and then near side rear, that upper camber arm has gone. We've got all those, they've all gone on. And then there's advisories for a couple of other joints, and advisories also for the service brake fluctuation. But what's interesting about EVs is they don't use that much in terms of brake pads and brake discs. And these guys still skim discs, like we used to do in the old days. So rather than buying new brake discs, you just skim them if they've got a bit of corrosion on them, because you just use regen braking most of the time. So actually less to worry about than you think. The main thing that has scared people off probably this Model S that I bought, and why it's so cheap is because it needs a new one of these, and that is the Pyro fuse. I'll get it out. That's just a giant safety fuse. But on my car, as we now know, it can be fitted from underneath, not on top, which means we don't have to take the whole battery pack out, which means the labour is cheaper than I thought. But even if we had to take the whole battery pack out as if it was an earlier model of mine, it's still financially viable because of the amount of money that I've paid for the car and the fact that, you know, Elon's paying for my fuel.
Johnny, I've realised what we need here. We've got a D3S and it's a D8S bulb I need. So the problem was the wrong bulb had been tried to be fitted.
Someone's fitted the wrong bulb?
Yep. So I need to magic a D8S from somewhere.
I can't do magic, but I can just give one to you. That's right. I just found it down my trousers, Matt.
Oh, I'm not sure whether that's good or bad, but okay. A D8S bulb, we should get that bulb sorted now. So there we go, bulb's now fitted properly, as is the rubber grommet that protects the bulb from dirt. Headlight sorted, we can put the arch liner back in, but it's probably best to leave it out whilst we change this suspension arm. Gives us a little bit more room.
Nice. Right, the really stubborn joint which Matt's trying to get off is pretty much the weakest link, suspension link on the Model S, which is this. This is the replacement one, it's this ball joint here. But to get this off from the aluminium arm, suspension arm, it uses a Torx head bolt, which I don't think is a great idea.
I don't think it's a great idea either.
But once that comes out, anyway, this new one can be in place. Obviously, new ball joint, new bushes, and then that solves that problem for the MOT as far as that goes. And then we can turn our attention to doing that main fuse, which is that Pyro fuse warning on the dash, which luckily on this particular model is accessible underneath.
Well, that was a fight.
We censored a lot of that.
And looking at this, I mean, it's got the original, it's an original genuine Tesla arm.
Made in Canada.
That's been in there quite a while because of how rusty it is. With this bolt, I've had to fight that out with Stilsons a little turn at a time because there's so much ingrained dirt in that all the way down the thread. I'm in two minds as to whether that's original.
If that's original, that's done 260,000 miles.
Well, it hasn't been changed recently, and that was a hell of a fight to get that out of the out of the upright. So,
well, V for victory.
Me. Yes, new one in.
You can fit the new one.
Hopefully this one lasts as long.
Bloody hell, yes.
There you go.
Yeah. But obviously we had to sort that fuse issue out amongst a couple of other things, and that's why the Tez went straight from the auction house to the workshop. So to reiterate, I wasn't looking for a Model S. In fact, I was looking for a Hyundai Ioniq 5 because used, I can see them for just under 20 grand now. And I thought that would be a really good car for me to have every day. I really like the 5. And it's all Jonathan Porterfield's fault for finding this particular example. And you know what? Any Tesla for 5,000 quid that runs and drives is pretty amazing, because they're a precious commodity for parts. You could break this car that I've got for more than what I paid for it, effectively, for those two motors and the battery pack. And the fact that this hasn't been category damaged, it's just high mileage. And it has a couple of faults, which we now know to be not a big deal, really. So don't be afraid to buy EVs. Now, I could have gone and picked up the car from the auction myself, but I was busy, and I knew the car didn't have an MOT, so it needed transportation anyway. So I figured I'll get it transported. It cost me about 300 quid to be delivered to Cleveley here, because I knew I was going to get them to do some work on it and the new MOT. But we've also found some cool stuff in the glove box. We found the original vehicle configuration price list, basically the bill of sale. The base model Model S 90D, 79,900 quid. Range upgrade, 2.5 grand. Obsidian black metallic paint, 850 quid. The 21-inch grey turbine alloys, 3,800 quid when they were new. The tan next generation seats, 2,100 quid. The carbon fibre decor pack, 850 sheets. Goodness me. The smart air suspension, £2,100. The premium interior package, whatever that is, I don't even know, I've got to look. £2,500. The ultra high fidelity sound kit, £2,100. Sub-Zero weather pack, £850. Isn't it amazing? So the total of my car, when it was sold new in January 2016, is 105,880 quid. Wow. Now, any Tesla, I would say, that's in half decent condition for £5,000 is an absolute bargain. This has to be the cheapest Tesla in the UK, and it's a P90D with some decent options. So it's a performance all-wheel drive one with big firepower. That's ridiculous. Isn't it amazing? But not only that, is the things that are wrong with it aren't actually as much of a deal as we thought they originally were, which pleases me immensely. So you've done the troublesome suspension arm here?
Yeah, so we fought that one. That one we've done. Yeah, so that's the 2 MOT failure items covered off.
Yeah.
As well as the headlight whilst we're in the same location as well.
Yeah.
So somebody had put a wrong bulb in it, as we found. So that was
an easier fix.
Well, I was hoping
once we knew it was the wrong bulb.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was just not in the correct position, but yeah, when I noticed the part number was wrong. So next is the high voltage Pyro fuse, which is conveniently under this cover here.
Yeah, that's so handy. It's the only access cover on the whole thing.
Yes. Brilliant. Yeah. They're horrible to get the lids off as well once the battery is out. If you intend to get inside, they're glued down so tight that they're not designed to come apart very easily. Mm-hmm. So a special 5-sided ribs in here.
So it's not a Torx.
It's not a Torx. It's 5-sided. There's quite a few manufacturers using these now. So
it's a Starfish.
It is. Yeah. We've got corrosion around a couple of them. So we'll have a good look once we're in there to make sure that that's not because of any moisture ingress.
Does this have a seal on it or anything?
Yeah, so there's a seal that sits into a recess there.
Yeah.
We can see that's pretty good and complete. There's no tracking of water anywhere across it. So that is good.
That's a good thing.
That area there where we said that seal's slightly flat is my only area of concern, but what we'll do when we put it back up is we'll put a little bit of grease around it, then we'll be good to go. So, yeah.
Now you're probably wondering, how do we know that the battery pack's not, to use a technical term, wanked? Well, it's because the car still drives and it says it's okay, but Matt's actually done a health check on the car. So to prove to me that the car still has longevity, because a lot of EV doubters will say, yeah, but the battery will hit 9 years old, 10 years old, or 200,000 miles or whatever and just be gone.
I hear it all the time, yeah.
I bet you do.
How long does an EV battery last? Well, as long as you're prepared to look after it, the same as an ICE engine.
Yeah.
Yes, it will degrade, the same as an ICE engine, but with an EV, we can actually measure that. Yep. Where you can't with an ICE. You can do a compression test, but is that relative to what's going on at the time? Yeah. Does it tell you the health of the vehicle? No. Well, at least with a battery, it's electronic and you can. So after 266,000 miles, we're at 76% state of health.
76%?
Yeah. So it's lost 24% in 266,000 miles.
That's pretty good, actually.
That's very good.
Basically a decade old, 266,000, 76%. So the car will still do over 200 miles on a charge, probably.
It should do, yes. Yeah.
Right, so this is the pack, and Matt's obviously made sure the car's completely isolated. You wouldn't do this otherwise. Yeah. This is the old one. There's a tiny bit of...
Just residue where the bolts were, so just witness marks, really.
But no like burns, no scorch?
No, it's not done anything. It's just the internal watch battery, if you like, has expired. So that's what it's warning about. So that job that has been putting people off buying this car at auction, other than putting this cover back on, is pretty much complete.
You could have done that in 2 minutes without us filming.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, we have a slightly longer part of this procedure now. So we've got to reconnect the 12 volt, recommission the high voltage, and then we've got to tell the car via Tesla Toolbox software that it's had the fuse replacement.
Right. Okay.
So.
So while all this is off, Matt recommended new pollen filter. Old one's a bit grubby. New one goes on, and now the 12-volt battery has been replaced, which just means the car has woken up. So now we're ready to put it through its retest, MOT test. We've obviously got the smaller wheels and tyres on. They've got relevant, legal tread. So hopefully it'll pass an MOT. Right, that's it. MOT retest time. Luckily, he owns the MOT bay, and it's, how many paces that way?
Oh, probably about 50.
50 paces that way. As predicted, pass. That's because we obviously did all the work that we knew it had failed on. But interestingly, it shows the previous mileage history of the different MOTs in the past. 2021, it had only done 146,000 miles. 2022 MOT, boom, 204,000. And then 235,000 miles in 2024, the last MOT. So it really jumped up between 21 and 22. I'm not saying this is the highest mileage Tesla in the country, because there are high mileage Teslas. In fact, Alex Kirsten's got one from Auto Alex. But find me a cheaper Tesla Model S. And then even better, once you found that, tell me it's a P90D performance model, not just a base model. Yeah, exactly. So here we are. Bargain Model S, not just Model S. P90D Model S. I really hope you've enjoyed this episode. I mean, I have been completely blown away by the condition of this. I was prepared to buy it on the basis that the front end was partially smashed or the side was gouged and there was more wrong with it for an MOT. And I've been pleasantly surprised. And I hope this goes some way as to educating people that there's nothing to be shy of when it comes to high mileage cars, but specifically in this instance, because I've enjoyed high mileage piston cars, high mileage EVs. Yes, there are things to look out for, and yes, you ought to do your research before buying. Speak to specialists, get someone to buy it for you who knows what they're doing. And thank you, Jonathan Porterfield. Thank you, Cleveley. But I cannot believe how well appointed this car is. I'm driving a car that has Insane Plus mode that can do 3 seconds to 62 and is a really good usable beast of a thing. It's £105,000 9 and a bit years ago, and I've bought it for £5,000. I have itemized on this video all the expenditure of this car, and I'm so chuffed. I'm so chuffed. In the next episode, I will do some performance tests of this car. I will use Insane mode. I'm not going to do it yet. And I will show you what true ranges I've been getting. And if there's anything else you want to know about this car, let me know in the comments, please, and I will go through that, and I'll take it into account, because I've bought this car to use and use hard as a tool. I haven't bought it because I think it's the most beautiful and interesting car in the world, but there's no doubt it's a sensational bargain, isn't it? And they are out there, ladies and gents, they are out there. If you haven't already, please subscribe to The Late Break Show. If you want to become a Patreon and support the channel that way, you get early access to videos like this, and you get blogs from me every week about what I'm doing behind the scenes and other episodes that are up and coming.